Welcome to the Unveos podcast, where we share actionable insights on web design, SEO, paid advertising, and AI automation. Each episode is focused on practical strategies you can apply immediately to build smarter systems, attract better traffic, and scale your business with confidence.
It's great to be here.
Today, we are diving into a topic that I have to admit, when I first saw the title, I thought it had to be a joke or like a new Spotify playlist or something. We're talking about vibe coding.
Vibe coding. It does sound a bit like Gen Z slang, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like something you'd hear on TikTok right after someone talks about, manifesting their morning coffee.
Exactly. But if you look at the stack of materials we have today, it is very clearly a specific and surprisingly technical movement in software development.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just fluff.
Right. My first thought was, okay, are we just programming with good energy now? Do I need to light some sage over my laptop? But the promise here is actually, it's huge. It's about using AI tools to turn ideas into code quickly.
And that's the key, the speed.
The speed, but also, and this is the part that got me, specifically without the heavy setup that usually stops people in their tracks.
That is the core promise. It is the democratization of the build process. But we need to be careful not to dismiss it as just magic. There is a real workflow here.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's not magic. So imagine building an app, not by, agonizing over syntax or wondering where the semicolon goes.
Or why your div won't center. Eternal struggle.
Oh, the centering div, yes. But instead, you're just describing what you want, focusing on the vibe and the outcome.
Right.
And we have a fascinating stack of sources today to unpack this. We're looking at a really detailed breakdown of a project series called Run Sign Up Vibe Coding Project 1.
Which is a goldmine, really.
It really is. It's got presentations. It has technical logs.
In limericks.
We cannot forget the limericks. We will definitely get to the poetry later.
Of course.
But we're pairing that technical deep dive with a discussion from the digital marketing community on Reddit about how people are actually using this stuff in the wild.
Which creates a really nice balance, I think, because often with these AI topics, you get the hype or you get the really dry documentation.
Fine, one or the other.
Yeah. But today we have the technical how-to from the Run Sign Up project, which is remarkably transparent about failures, by the way. And then we have the what does this mean for business perspective from the marketers.
So our mission today is, I think, simple but deep. We want to understand how vibe coding lowers the barrier to entry for non-developers. We're going to look specifically at tools like V0 and Vercel, and we need to answer the big question. Is this just a toy for making funny apps for your friends? Or is it a legitimate business tool for creators and marketers who actually want to scale?
And that distinction is vital, because looking at those logs, there's some serious engineering happening here under the hood. It's not just make me a website, or it debug my API integration, which is a whole different ballgame.
Totally. So let's start at the beginning. We need to define this properly, because vibe coding, it feels like a term that could mean anything.
It does?
If we look at the definition provided in the Run Sign Up source material, how are they actually defining this?
So they define vibe coding as using AI tools to turn ideas into code quickly. That's part one. But the most important phrase there, the one that really defines the category and, separates it from traditional coding is no heavy setup.
No heavy setup. That hits home. I think anyone who has ever tried to learn to code hits that wall immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
You buy the Learn Python book, you're excited, and then you spend 3 days installing environments, configuring terminals, setting up paths.
And getting errors that have nothing to do with the code you're actually trying to write.
Exactly. It's like error.pip not found or pass not set. You haven't written a single line of logic. You're just fighting the plumbing.
Precisely. In the industry, we call that the setup tax. It is the friction required just to get to the starting line.
Right.
Vibe coding attempts to bypass that entirely. The source explicitly states that you just described the goal, and the tool builds it. It abstracts away the environment configuration.
So it's kind of like moving from building a car engine from scratch to just getting in the driver's seat and hitting the gas.
That is a really fair analogy.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the source material notes that while developer experience helps, and we'll see why later when things inevitably break.
As they always do.
As they always do. But strictly speaking, no dev experience is needed.
Okay, that is a bold claim. No dev experience needed. I feel like we should put a pin in that because I'm a little skeptical. Usually when people say no experience needed, they mean you don't need experience until you hit the first error.
A healthy skepticism is good. I think that's fair. But the philosophy here seems to be about shifting the focus. The materials mention the fun aspect repeatedly.
Right.
They talk about experimentation, rapid prototyping, and learning through play.
So it feels less like engineering and more like, I don't know, sculpting or maybe directing.
Conducting is the analogy I
Oh,
like.
that's good.
You aren't playing the instrument, you are directing the orchestra. You tell the violins to be louder or the tempo to be faster. And we have to contextualize this timeline. The source notes that this is very new. Most of these platforms really started taking off in 2024.
Wow.
This concept is barely a year old in its mature form.
That's wild how fast it's moving. The examples they list for use cases aren't just, hello world. They talk about photography portfolios, race and weather matchups, and simple apps to build out systems.
Right. And the mindset described is vibes set just right. It implies that if you can articulate the feeling and the function of the application, the AI can handle the syntax. It prioritizes creativity over syntax.
Okay, so if the vibe is the strategy,
Yeah.
let's talk about the tactics. What is the actual tool stack here? Because you can't just yell, make me an app into the void, right?
No, you cannot.
The sources point to one tool as the absolute centerpiece of this project.
Yes. V00.
V0, spelled V0, created by Vercel. Now, for the listeners who might be used to ChatGPT or Claude, how is V0 different? Why is this the hero tool?
It is important to understand that V0 is not just a chatbot. It's a generative UI system.
Okay.
When you use ChatGPT, you get a block of text code that you have to copy, paste into a file, save, run, and, hope it works.
Right, the whole manual process.
The whole manual process. The workflow with V0 is idea to prompt, prompt to AI-generated code, and then, this is the magic part, immediately to prototype.
So it renders it for you?
It renders it. You see the user interface right there in the browser. It builds the components visually.
That's a game changer for the setup tax we talked about. You don't need a local server running or anything.
Exactly. And the secret sauce here, if you will, is the ecosystem. The expert notes in our source material explain that V0 connects directly to Vercel for hosting and deployment. So you don't just get a prototype that lives on your screen. You can click deploy, and suddenly you have a live URL. It offers instant results.
Okay, so V0 is the builder. That makes sense. But the source material also gives us a really interesting list of the supporting cast, because V0 isn't the only player in the game. And it seems like you need a whole squad of AIs to really make this work.
No, and this is where it gets really interesting for the listener who might be trying to figure out which tool to use for what. The source differentiates them quite clearly.
Okay.
You have ChatGPT, which they describe as a broad AI model.
The jack of all trades.
Exactly. Good for brainstorming, broad concepts, getting the ball rolling. But then you have Claude, and the source specifically notes Claude is strong for writing and debugging code.
I've heard that a lot from developers recently. Like if you're really stuck, you ask Claude. Why do you think that is?
Claude tends to be less prone to what we call hallucination in syntax.
Right.
It follows logic paths a bit tighter. If V0 builds the car, Claude is the mechanic you call when the engine starts making a weird noise.
Okay, I love that. Who else is in the squad?
Then there's Replit, which is described as an online coding and collaboration platform. So that's more of your workspace, your online desk, so to speak.
Got it.
Then Gemini is highlighted for excelling in long-form explanations and research. So if you need to understand how an API works before you even try to code it, you ask Gemini.
And then there were a couple of newer names in the source that I wasn't as familiar with.
Yes. Bolt.new, which they call an instant playground for spinning up projects. So think very fast, very disposable.
Like a sandbox.
A perfect sandbox. And Lovable, which is an AI-assisted app builder for more simple projects.
It really is like the Avengers of AI coding. Everyone has a specialty.
That is a great way to put it, and it highlights a key insight from the source. The ecosystem is fragmented. Notice how different AIs are used for different parts of the vibe.
Yeah.
You might use Gemini to research the logic, Claude to debug a tricky function, and then V0 to actually build and host the interface.
So you are essentially the project manager of a team of AI agents.
That's it exactly.
I love that framing. You're not just a coder, you're the manager. You're delegating tasks to the specialist. Claude, fix this. V0, make this look pretty.
Exactly. And that requires a different skill set than just knowing Java or Python. It's a skill of clear communication and direction.
So that's this team in action. The source material details a project series called Run Sign Up Project 1. And the first app they built, which I think falls squarely into the fun category, is a running split calculator.
This is a perfect example of functional vibe coding. It's simple, but it's not that simple.
Right. Now, for the non-runners listening, a split calculator sounds simple. But describe what this thing actually does, because looking at the source, it's not just a basic division problem.
No, not at all. The logic is actually quite sophisticated. The host describes an app where you input a target time, and the AI had to handle inputs in both MMSS, so minutes and seconds,
Okay.
and HMNS hours, minutes and seconds.
Which, as anyone who has worked with time in Excel or coding knows, is notoriously annoying.
It is an absolute nightmare. Time math is surprisingly difficult, but the AI handled that parsing. It then calculates splits for distances ranging from 1 mile all the way up to a full marathon. But the part that really demonstrates the power of Vibe is the strategy logic.
Yes. The negative splits.
Yeah.
I saw that and thought, okay, this is cool.
Right. The source shows that the AI was able to program negative splits. For those who aren't runners, that means running the second half of the race faster than the first. It's a common strategy for setting a personal record.
And it wasn't just a toggle, was it?
No. The app offered specific percentage options, 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% faster for the second half.
That implies the AI understood the concept of a negative split strategy. You didn't have to write the mathematical formula for take total time, divide by 2, apply percentage offset to the second half.
No.
You just asked for negative splits.
That's exactly it. The prompt resulted in a clean UI with race setup and your race splits sections. The user didn't write the math logic, they described the utility. That is the essence of vibe coding. The user provided the domain expertise, runners need negative splits, and the AI provided the implementation.
There was another example in the fun category that I thought was hilarious, but also a really good lesson in limitations. The turkey test.
The Gobble Gallop Turkey 5K and 8K, a classic.
Yes. They built an AI assistant for this specific race. Ask the turkey where to park. But what caught my eye was the testing process. They were testing the AI's vibe with different prompts to see if it would, just make stuff up.
Hallucinate, yeah. This is a crucial lesson in prompt engineering. The source compares prompt 1 versus prompt 2. One test included specific URLs in the prompt, giving the AI source material to look up, and the other didn't.
Ah, so they were testing its grounding.
Exactly. They were testing to see how the bot behaves when it has access to specific data versus when it is just guessing based on its general training data.
And they actually scored it, which I really appreciate. They didn't just say it worked.
They did. They achieved a 71% success rate on test questions. Questions like, where can I see my results? Or what time does the race start?
Okay, I have to stop you there. 71%. I mean, if my accountant was right 71% of the time, I'd be in jail.
Mm-hmm.
If my car started 71% of the time, I'd walk. Is 71% actually considered a win here?
It's a very fair pushback. In a production environment for a bank, absolutely not. That's a disaster.
Right.
For a volunteer-run turkey trot 5K bot that took 10 minutes to build, maybe it's okay.
Right.
But here's the transparency. The source shows a score tracking feature where they evaluated 0 out of 10 questions initially. It demonstrates that vibe coding isn't magic. You can spin up the bot in seconds, but you still have to validate it.
So it gets you to, 80% instantly. But that last 20%, the testing, the refining, the fact-checking, that's still on you.
Correct. You can't just trust the vibe, you have to verify the facts. And a 71% success rate tells me that the context, the data you feed the AI is the most critical part. If you don't give it the right brochure to read, it's going to guess. And it's going to be wrong almost 30% of the time.
It's a reality check. Vibe coding is fast, but it's not infallible.
Not at all.
Speaking of reality checks, let's move to the part of the source material that gave me secondhand anxiety.
The technical grind.
Yes. Case study 2, the ticket event display. Because the fun and games stopped here. They weren't just making a calculator. They were trying to integrate with an actual API.
Yeah. This is where the rubber meets the road. The previous examples were self-contained. The math for a marathon split is the same everywhere. But the ticket event display required pulling real, live data using API keys and secrets from the Run Sign Up platform.
And looking at the logs provided in the source, it did not go smoothly.
No. They encountered the dreaded no tickets found bug.
A classic. The credentials are right, the code looks right, but the screen is just empty. We've all been there.
All of us. But the source logs detail the troubleshooting process, and this is fascinating because it almost anthropomorphizes the tool a bit. The log explicitly says the AI, so V0, was thinking for 4 seconds.
4 seconds. In computer time, that is an eternity. That's like a human sitting in silence for a week trying to figure something out.
It is. But in those 4 seconds, it wasn't just stalling. It formulated a plan. It didn't just guess. It proposed a detailed 4-step remediation strategy.
Let's walk us through that, because this is where I think that no dev experience needed claim gets seriously tested.
It really does. So step 1, enhanced logging. The AI wanted to see the data flow. It realized it was flying blind and couldn't see what the API was actually sending back.
Okay. All right.
Step 2, fixed data processing. It suspected the way the tickets were being fetched, the filtering logic was wrong, maybe it was asking for the wrong kind of ticket.
A debug button. This is the brilliant part.
Yeah.
It added a manual button to the UI that would log all the diagnostic info to the console so the human could see what was happening in real time.
Wait, that's amazing. The AI built a tool for the human to help debug the AI.
Correct. It built its own diagnostic tool on the fly. And step 4, it identified a polling mechanism. The AI realized that a previous change it made, automatically checking for new tickets every few seconds, might have been the thing that broke the display.
Ah, so it was self-aware of its own changes.
Yes, and it proposed reverting to the original functionality while keeping the polling feature available, but maybe turned off by default.
That sounds exactly like a senior developer talking, hey, I think we broke it with that last push. Let's revert that one piece, add some logs, and figure this out.
If we connect it to the bigger picture, this is the most critical takeaway for professional use. Vibe coding isn't just make me a website. It involves iterating quickly. The source explicitly mentions, don't worry about mistakes. Live debugging is part of learning.
Right.
The AI acted as a partner in that debugging process.
It really changes the relationship with the bug. Instead of you staring at the code alone, crying into your coffee at 2 a.m.,
Oh, we've all been there.
you're asking the AI, why is this broken? And it's walking you through a logical plan to fix it.
Exactly. You are debugging the logic, not the syntax. You don't need to know how to write the console log function in JavaScript. You just need to know that you need a log to see the data. The AI handles the how.
So we've seen the fun stuff, we've seen the technical grind, but now I want to pivot to the practical application, because at Aveos, we care about business results.
Right. What's the ROI?
Exactly. We have this Reddit thread from our digital marketing, and the title says it all, Vibe Coding Your Own Marketing Tools.
This helps us answer our initial question. Is this a business tool?
Yeah.
And the answer from the community is a resounding yes.
Let's zoom in on user Kaiman. I feel like I know this person. They aren't a developer. They're a marketer who is probably drowning in CSV files.
That's the vibe I got. They started building tools for optimizing campaigns on Meta and Google and doing SEO reporting.
Think about the time savings there. I mean, usually you have 2 options. 1, you do it manually in Excel every Monday morning, which is soul-crushing. Or 2, you pay, $500 a month for some SaaS tool that does 80% of what you want and 20% of stuff you don't need and can't turn off.
And it probably doesn't connect to that one data source you really need.
Exactly. Vibe coding offers a third option. Kaiman just vibed a custom tool into existence. They built the exact report they needed for their specific workflow.
It's bespoke software without the bespoke price tag.
Perfectly put. And then there's user LazyPositive8455, which, by the way, great username, very fitting for an automation discussion.
It is efficient, not lazy.
Yeah.
That's the key.
They mentioned using vibe coding for small scripts to automate reporting and add performance tracking. But the benefit they cited was key for me. They said, cutting down repetitive checks creates space for creative testing.
That is the ROI of vibe coding right there. That's the whole business case in one sentence.
Yeah.
If you can automate the boring stuff, the daily checks, the data, free up your brain for the strategy, for the creative, the AI can pull the data, but it can't decide if the ad copy is emotionally resonant. That's still your job.
But the story that really blew my mind, the one that proves this isn't just for little scripts, was user Crustaceous Rabbit.
Ah, yes. The Hypecaster project. This one is a journey.
It is. This user describes a game-changer moment. They said they had to get past the let me over-engineer this phase, which we all do.
Absolutely. The planning paralysis.
Yes. And they just started building, they stitched AI and no-code tools together to make short-form video tools.
And notice the progression. It started as hacking together little automations for TikTok content testing, just simple internal scripts.
Right.
But then it evolved into a whole SaaS product.
A whole sauce product.
Well,
from a side experiment that started with a vibe.
This validates the concept completely. The vibe approach allows marketers to build custom solutions that off-the-shelf software might not handle perfectly. But more importantly, it shows that the barrier between I have an idea for a software company and I built a software company it's just dissolving.
It feels like we're entering an era of the technical marketer or the technical creative, but without them needing a 4-year computer science degree.
Yes, the barrier to entry has lowered to the point where domain expertise, knowing what to build, is becoming more valuable than knowing how to code it line by line. If you understand the problem intimately, the AI can help you build the solution.
Which brings us to the culture of this movement, because Run Sign Up didn't just give us code logs and bug reports, they gave us poetry.
They did. The source material includes actual limericks, which is, it's just unexpected in a technical document.
I honestly thought it was a hallucination in the source material at first. I was like, did the AI write this? But no, it's right there. I have to read this one from the Vibe Coding Project 1 source. It really captures the spirit of the team.
Please do.
There's Daniel, who guides with great cheer, and Joel making code disappear with vibes set just right. They'll build apps in plain sight. So welcome, we're glad you are here.
Making code disappear. That is a very poetic way of describing abstraction, isn't it?
It is. It's both literal and metaphorical. It's beautiful.
You don't see the code, you just see the app. That is the ultimate goal of all high-level programming languages, and AI is just the next layer of that abstraction.
And the closing thought from the source was really sweet, too. May your projects all slay, and may vibe coding help them to grow.
It emphasizes accessibility. It's playful. The goal stated in the source is to lower the barrier so anyone can create. It's not about gatekeeping. It's about inviting everyone into the build process.
Yeah.
Whether you're a runner, a marketer, or just someone who likes limericks.
It's a really optimistic view of the future of tech, which is refreshing.
It is.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot today, from poetry to API debugging.
We have. To summarize, vibe coding is using AI tools, specifically that stack around Vero and Vercel2, to bypass the heavy, painful lifting of software setup.
We saw it works for fun run signups, split calculators, and turkey trots, and for the heavy lifting of API integrations and debugging, provided you're willing to sit through a few thinking pauses from the AI.
And we confirmed via the Reddit community that this is already in use for real business efficiency marketing automation, SEO reporting, and even launching full sauce products like Hypecaster.
But we also learned the most important lesson, I think. It requires a willingness to debug. As the source said, live debugging is part of learning. It's not magic, it's a partnership.
Right.
You are the project manager, and the AI is your very smart, very fast junior developer.
Precisely. And a junior dev needs guidance, clear instructions, and sometimes a little bit of patience.
So here's my final thought for you listening. We usually end with a question, and today it's a big one. We always hear people say, I have the great idea for an app, but I don't have a technical co-founder, or just, I can't code.
That excuse is rapidly expiring.
Exactly. If the barrier to building software is now just your ability to describe a vibe and iterate on a prompt, what idea have you been sitting on? What tool could you build today to fix that little annoyance in your workflow?
That is the question. And I would add to that, we are moving from a world of learning to code to learning to lead the AI to code for you. The school of the future is leadership, logic, and clarity, not just syntax.
I love that. You're the captain now. Thanks for listening to the deep dive. Keep your vibe set right and go build something.
Goodbye, everyone.